for Hadoop. So first of all, let me just introduce myself quickly. I am Anish. I think my name there shows as Jeet Singh. So Jeet Singh is basically again one part of the organization. I think I joined through using his credentials. That is the reason why it shows the name there. So I am a Hadoop developer. I have been working on this big data thing for last 7 years. And I've been providing training on it for almost more than 3 years now. And in all these time, I have provided training to individuals and corporates, and I have worked on a lot of implementations myself. So I bring in a lot of practical experience with it, and I have been working with these guys from Wiki Trainings for almost a couple of years now. Yeah, 2 years. I have been associated with them, and I exclusively work with Wiki Trainings, and they they have a few more trainers on Hadoop yeah, because they do run few batches. So that is the thing. That's brief introduction about me. So let's get into talking about big data, Hadoop a little, and we will talk about the training program that we are going to do. So first thing that we start up with is the big data thing. So I know, since I do a lot of training programs, I know that nowadays everywhere we go, we hear this terminology, big data. Everyone is talking about big data, right? Big data is really big now. So this big data we keep on hearing, but sometimes we have a question in mind: what exactly is this big data, right? We try and understand what is big data, or what are the technologies, or what are the career scopes in big data. So that is what the question we have in mind most of the times. So I'll start with that point. First of all, let's get into talking about big data. What is big data? The first question, the biggest question that we have in mind. So as the name suggests, I'll try to keep it very simple. I'll not use any very complex technical terminologies at this point of time. Yeah, as we progress in the training program, definitely we will learn the complex terminologies and all. But today I will try to keep it very simple. Again, as I told you, I am a professional myself, and I've been working on it for quite some time. I understand how important it's for us to understand and learn the basics. So understand the basics of it to make a successful career into that. So for that reason, I'll try and keep it very simple. So big data, as the name suggests, it's huge data, right? That is what big data is. Huge amount of data, right? So let's see. As you can see on the screen, it says collection of data sets. So collection of data sets here. If you are talking about any database management tool, or if you are talking about any sort of database, it has collection of data. But we are not just talking about simple collection of data sets. What are we talking about? We are talking about collection of data sets which are large and complex, which are pretty large, pretty complex, right? How large and how complex? Now the next thing that we have to understand is these are so large and complex that's very difficult to process using on-hand database management tools. So the normal database management tools, using those, it becomes pretty difficult to process the data here and manage that data, right? Why it is so complex, we'll talk about that. Okay, in our next slides we'll talk about why is it so difficult. Okay. It's also difficult to manage or process this data using the traditional data processing application. The traditional ones that we had, we have most of the times we have talked about RDBMS, Relational Database Management System and all. It becomes a little difficult to manage it through those traditional theories, traditional applications. Okay. And it also refers to exponential growth of exponential growth. So we are using the terminology that exponential growth of data, right, which is both structured and unstructured. So the problem comes, the big challenge comes with the unstructured data. Structured data still, somehow it is in a particular structure and it's a slight easy to manage. The big challenge comes with the unstructured data that we have, right? And what are the challenges that are there? So big data, collection of data, difficult to process using on-hand database management tools, traditional applications. What are the challenges? Capturing the data, curation of data, storage, searching, sharing, transfer, analysis, visualization. So these are the main challenges that we have here, right? With big data. Now, to understand the challenges, I was just talking about this, that it's very difficult to process this kind of data using on-hand database management tools or the traditional ways of managing database. Why is it difficult? To understand that, we have to understand 3 V's of big data. Okay. First V is the volume of the data. Big data has to be volume. It's a huge volume of data that we deal with. So when we are talking about big data, there's a lot of data there. Think about Facebook. I'll just give a very simple example. Think of Facebook. How many people do you think are there in Facebook? How many updates do they make on Facebook every day? How many messages they are sharing, within themselves? How many images are being shared every day? Forget about every day. Think of every hour. There's so many users, their updates, their messages, images, videos that they are sharing. Right? Think of a telecommunication company. How many calls, what sort of a customer base a telecom company has? How many calls do they make? So, and these companies need to keep a track of all this data. Think of social media, think of banking and finance, think of telecommunications. There is a huge amount of data. So volume is the big thing, right? So volume it's not again about, I was just talking about, per hour how much data is getting generated. That is just one part of it. But they also need to, store all the data which has been generated over the years. So every day there is more data which is getting added to it. It's not that tomorrow you will delete today's data and you will just keep tomorrow's data. No. All the data which is being generated over the years, that is being stored there. Okay. Increasing amount of sensor and machine to machine data being collected. Okay. In the past, this point is important. In the past, excessive data volume was a storage issue. So in past it was an issue of where you store it. Now that is not that much of a big issue. The biggest issue is, or what exactly company storing the data is not that much of a challenge. So if we hear of volume, the first thing that comes to mind is, okay, fine, where do we store such a huge volume of data? Storing the volumes of data is not a big challenge at all. The big question nowadays is, how do you utilize that data? If you have kept the data over years, or if you have stored that, if the companies are storing that data, why do they store it for? They do store it so that they can do a better business. They can analyze the data, try and figure out how things went, what people are doing. I'm not very sure if you guys have come across this kind of thing, but if you would have noticed, if you do not log in onto Facebook for a few days, you start receiving emails from their site, right? So they try and analyze everything, that who is using, how much they are using, which all things they are using, right? You start receiving messages from these telecommunication companies. If you are sending too many messages, they start sending you plans for SMS, which means what? They are continuously doing some sort of analysis. It's not a one-time thing again. It's something which is happening on a regular basis. So huge volume of data, and the companies or the organizations need to deal with that huge volume of data on a regular basis, doing analysis, capturing, storing, all those things, sharing that. So every aspect of that data they need to take care of, and the volumes are really high. Okay. And there's just one small thing here on the slide that is unstructured data. Fine. The problem starts with the unstructured data. I will come to the unstructured data as well in the next slide. I'll talk about that. So that's about volume, the first V of big data. Huge volume of data which needs to be taken care of. Then the next point is velocity. Right. What is velocity? Speed. To make it simple, speed. Right. The time that it takes to process the data. Now you just think of it. We were talking about social media. Is it so that you post a status update? We talked about Facebook, so let's get back to Facebook again. I mean, I'm taking example of Facebook because that is something that we can easily relate to. Think of Facebook. We just talked about that every hour they are getting so much of data into their system. Okay. So they have done well to store the volumes of data. That's good. Think of velocity that their data, the speed with which the data gets processed for them. Does it happen any day that you post a status on Facebook and it is visible to your friend the next day or after 2 hours? You start receiving replies immediately, which means the data processing is happening very quick. Think of Google. You put an article on the blog and the next moment it is there on the search engine. You can search and find it there. Right? So in Google, think of it, I mean, Facebook is one thing. Think of Google. There are so many, people posting different things, websites, there's that, all that appears in their, search results instantly. So that the velocity with which this data is getting processed, that is again one thing which is a bit of challenge. So reacting quickly enough to deal with the data velocity. So data volume is one challenge. The second big challenge is the velocity. So the companies or the organizations need to react very quickly. Okay, the processing should happen very quick. So second V is velocity, or the second big challenge. Then we come to variety. Right. So we talked about volume, we talked about velocity. And the third big challenge is the variety. Okay. If you read this line, it talks about a lot of things. It says data today comes in all types of formats. Right. So it's not that traditional data which was being stored in tables and all. So I was just talking about this, that we are not able to use those traditional theories or traditional database applications, right, for big data because of the formats or because of the type of data which we get or the variety. So it's not the same kind of data. If it's the similar kind of data, tabular data, you can easily put it into relational database management system and you can manage that. No matter how many records you have or no matter how many rows of data you have, you can still manage it with that. The problem here is that data nowadays is coming in structured as well as unstructured format. So it's not just that the numeric data that you are dealing with or you are dealing with the inline data and all. It is much more than that. It can be your unstructured data. What is unstructured data? So structured data, we understand the data which can be put into tables and all. So that is structured data or the same type of data. But unstructured data is where you need to deal with any type of data like text documents. Yeah. So if you can see my cursor on the screen. So unstructured data can have text documents, emails, videos, audios, and that too. I mean, when we're talking about videos, it's not just one type of videos. Again, they also come in different formats, right? So managing and merging these different varieties of data, that again becomes a big challenge for the companies, right? So now this Hadoop is a solution to this. So we were just talking about the challenges. We talked about big data. What is big data? What are the 3 V's of big data? That is what we talked about. Now Hadoop provides solutions to that, right? Hadoop helps organizations manage this kind of data, unstructured data with high velocity. So in our training program, we are going to learn that how to deal with this, such a huge amount of data which is unstructured. So we are going to understand how these things can be managed. So that is what we are going to do in the training program. I'll just share the flow of training as well, where you will understand how exactly we are going to go into it, right? So here is the content, or here's the flow of the training. I believe in providing a very disciplined kind of a training program. So not like any other training program where you are just committed on given number of hours and you do not know when you are going to do what. So the training programs that we have designed is after doing a lot of discussions with our corporate clients, and after delivering a few training programs for our recruiting clients and all. So now we have decided on how much weightage needs to be given on each of the topic, and we have defined it that way. So we'll be sharing this, someone from this Wiki Trainings team, coordination team will share these details with you, the content. But let me just give you a brief on this. So we start right from what is big data, characteristics of big data. So we start from the basics so that you understand big data. So initially we start with the introduction of big data. We would talk about a few use cases of data analysis here. We'll be talking about a lot of practical examples throughout our training program. So that is what we are going to do. Then we move into, once we are done with talking about the big data thing, we move into introduction to Hadoop. We learn what is Hadoop, history of Hadoop, different components of Hadoop. Okay. So how does Hadoop come to the rescue of organizations who are dealing with those challenges for big data? Then we talk about Hadoop distributed, HDFS. I'm not very sure if you've heard of it, but this HDFS is the Hadoop distributed file system. So a way of managing that unstructured data that we were just talking about. Right, and here you will see most of the times we talk about some use cases to give you that practical flavor or essence. So you should not just learn things which are pretty much written on a book somewhere. So I mean the training program should never, or at any point of time, should not become such that you start feeling that you are just reading a book. So for that reason, I have utilized all my experience and I bring in use cases wherever it is required, so that it gives you some benefit and you are able to connect to that. We learn how to install. We then move into advanced HDFS concepts. So that is what we do. That is where we go into. Then we start talking about MapReduce. We do introduction to MapReduce. We talk about the basics of MapReduce. Then we'll do a workshop on the MapReduce, where again we you are required to do a few small activities, so that you get that hands-on sort of thing. So it's not again just the theory part of it. We are going to make it practical so that you can utilize that experience. You can understand things a little better. Advanced concepts of MapReduce we will talk. Then we start talking about cloud computing overview. Yeah, this is just a small 1 hour session. I think some of you might be aware of it, but yeah, still we discuss that so that you get a good understanding of cloud computing and all. We learn installing Apache Hadoop for multiple nodes. The previous one was for single node. Then we talk about Hadoop ecosystem, PIG. We understand the PIG program structure and execution process. Then we move into Hadoop ecosystem, Hive. We talk about Hive here. Then we move into HBase and Zookeeper. Right, so we are trying, we have designed this training program after doing a lot of corporate trainings, and this is something which has been approved by a lot of companies, and when I say companies, these are really big companies that we provide training to. So they have kind of accepted this training program, and that is the reason why you see almost everything being covered here, right? We talk about Scoop here, Uzi, Apache Flume. This is what we are going to cover. Then we will talk about advanced concepts of Hadoop as well. Then we do an administration refresher, right? So admin refresher would be more of admin topics that we talk about there. Then the next thing that we do is building a weblog analysis using MapReduce. So this is again a kind of an activity. And finally, last but not the least, the real life project. So we talk about that real life project. So there we give you that scenario, and we help you in that thing, right? So this is how the course or the training program is going to flow, right? Next we'll talk about the Wiki trainings. The organization, we have been conducting training programs for almost 5 years. I have been associated with them for last 2 years, as I said. So it's a leading online and corporate training provider company. It's pretty much existent in India as well as US, UK, Australia, and Canada. Yeah. So they do online training programs for a few other good technologies like Microsoft Dynamics, Salesforce, and all. The courses that we conduct are widely accepted by the biggest IT and consulting companies. So the training programs or the courses that we conduct have not been designed only for individuals. These are the training programs which have been accepted by big project managers of big companies, right? And these training programs are designed to prepare professionals. It's not just a training program that you attend. It's not something similar to the training that we used to do in our college or the training that we received in our school days and all. Yeah, so it's pretty much practical, and that is what we are required to do. Whenever we go and do a assignment for a corporate, we are required to design a training program in such a way so that after attending that training program, their resources can straight away get into the project and start working. So yeah. And we have been doing a lot of online trainings as well along with that. So our corporate training experience actually helps us improve the training programs for individuals or the online trainings that we do. We have highly experienced trainers. So as I told you, I am myself highly experienced. So that is one thing. Okay, well, they have delivered training programs for more than 50 companies. Yeah, this point is important. We are associated with more than 25 recruiting companies in US, so that is a big advantage. Now, how does this help? So we do training programs. I have been doing it myself as well for Hadoop. Hadoop is the one of the hottest selling technologies in market today, and especially in US. So we do training programs for candidates back in US as well as India and a couple of other countries. So whenever we are doing this training program for people in from recruiting company, we are doing the training program in such a way so that they can be placed after that. So the training programs have been designed. So you might have noticed that most of the topics we have included use cases. So the reason why we are talking about those use cases is to give them an idea of practical scenarios, how it actually works in the practical life, so that they can go and clear the interviews. So we train to place them. So that sort of training programs we have designed. So this is our associate recruiting companies help us do that. I deliver training to more than 1,500 individuals. That's pretty fine. Yeah. So now talking about the training program. So it's going to be a 40 hours training program. The one that I showed you, and it has a complete breakup. We will be sharing that thing with you. Apart from the sessions, the 40 hours are the sessions. Apart from the sessions, what do you get? You get training materials. Okay, for all the training, all the concepts that we are talking about, you will get the training material. You get recorded sessions. This is a good thing. This is a big advantage. You get recorded session post training. So So once you're done with the training, you will get the recorded sessions for your review. Why we introduced this thing? Because when we started this training program, initially we faced a few issues from a few candidates where they were saying that they are after the training is over, sometimes they need some support, small support, or they just want to do a small revision kind of an activity, and they do not have any reference for that. So we do provide recorded sessions for your review, so you can, even after the training is over, you can go back and do the review. Post training support to help candidates, so we do a lot of programs to help candidates after the training as well, right? For example, we have discussions or the forums on weekends where we invite people from the same technology, different batches, as well as people. So we do different sort of discussion forums. So one is where we invite all people from Hadoop, and one is where we invite people from all technologies. So because these guys do a lot of training programs, they invite people from different technologies. Let's say someone who's learning Salesforce, someone who's learning Hadoop, Oracle BI. The reason for these discussions is, again, this is something which is volunteer. So you can just be a part of it if you want. In case you attend these sessions, what is the big advantage that you get? Number one, you get to build a good network. So you will have people who have like 5 years, 10 years experience, attending this. Definitely you will have a few freshers as well. But from the network point of view, I'm definitely talking about people who are highly experienced. You can have network, and then you can leverage that networking thing. Other big advantage that you can have is you can talk about different technologies and try and understand. So though you're not taking a training on everything, but you can understand small aspects. You do not need to get trained on everything, but small aspects of it, right? So how does Oracle database work? Let's say you are working on Hadoop, or you are learning Hadoop. So unstructured part, HDFS, these are the things that you are learning. But how does Oracle work? How does an Oracle BI work? How does a Salesforce work? Or how does a Microsoft Dynamics work? So small things, not a complete training, but when you get into those discussions and you start comparing, okay, fine, it happens like this on Hadoop, right? So that networking helps you in that as well. So one, it helps you in discussing in your discussions. Secondly, it helps you in some part of your getting a job and all that stuff as well, right? And as I told you earlier, we discuss all practical concepts throughout the training, and we discuss about the use cases, and we will talk about a project as well here towards the end of the training. So that helps you a lot in preparing for your resume and preparing for the interview. In case you are planning to put some sort of experience in your resume, you can definitely do that with the help of these practical concepts that we are going to discuss, right? So that's about the training program. The next thing that I have is the questions. If anyone has any questions, you can just ask that. Anyone who has a question, wants to ask it, please do ask it. This is one thing, I mean, though I'm more of a technical guy, I would rather answer it in a very technical way and not in a business development way or a marketing or a sales point of view. See, the job thing depends completely on what we are capable of doing. That is one. Second is, what we can analyze is how good the technology is. If in today's market you have to, if you start looking around, this is one technology which is doing the best. Talk in terms of salary, talk in terms of the number of openings that you have, talk in terms of the demand that you will have after doing this course. So that's there. I mean, I don't have to tell you that as well, because you guys might already know this. That this is something which is the best technology in the market from the job perspective and all. Right. Having said that, as I said, I would not just go from the sales point of view, right? Had I been a business development executive, I would have told you straight away this, that okay, fine, you learn this technology, man, you get the best job in this world. No. A lot depends on how good we learn it, right? Are we able to face the interview? Again, learning is one aspect, facing the interview and impressing that person on that interview time. That is one thing. Do you have a really good story with you that you can actually explain during the interview and convince that person, the other person? I know people because I have done a lot of training. I know people who are technically very sound, and you guys also might know some people like that. There are people who are technically very sound, but during the interview they are not able to deliver, right? Why they are not able to deliver? Because they do not look into things from the right perspective. Maybe if they have worked on a project, they are required, asked to explain it, they might not be able to explain it. However, if you ask them to work on that, they might do it very well. So your job aspects depend a lot on that side of preparation, right? So you will have to, be good in the technology, and you will have to be good in selling yourself while you go for interview. Having these two things in mind, this is the best technology at this point of time. You can go and compare anywhere in this world. This is one thing which is doing really good. So from that point of view, yeah, the scope of getting a job or opportunities for job after completing the training is really good. The quality of the training that we are providing is excellent, and I mean, these guys have actually this 40 hours training program which you see. Most of the training companies do a training program which is close to 24-25 hours. So this was designed, we had a big discussion, some of our clients insisted, and this training program was designed for a 40 hours to make sure that the person who is learning it gets a complete training. Okay, so from after attending this training, you should have that advantage. Having said that, a lot depends on you for the job site. Okay, I have one more guy who says, I don't want to learn Java because I hate programming, but that's pretty nice. So without Java, is it possible to learn Hadoop? Right. So the training program, as I said, there is a training program for developers, right? In case you do not want to, for developer, you have to get into Java programming. Either you know it or you learn it, you will have to get into that. In case you don't want to get into that, you get into the role of administrator or a data analyst. So an administrator is a person who administers the users, and a data analyst is someone who does the data analysis. So for data analyst kind of a position, if you know SQL queries and all, that should be fine. So in case you know SQL queries, that would also help you to become a data analyst. So there is huge demand for administrators as well as data analysts. So anyone who feels that they are not interested in programming, do not want to go into programming, no worries, that's absolutely fine. Still can learn it. And as we talk about it, analyzing the data is a big thing. It's a big challenge that these guys are facing. Right. I think I have one more question which talks about opportunities for administrator. Again, I think my answer would be the same. Opportunities are really bright. Thing depends on how good you learn and how good it completely comes down to how good a learner you are and how good a trainer you have. Oh, yeah. So only the trainer cannot do it if you are not learning it properly, and only you cannot do it if you do not have the right trainer. So it needs to be a very good combination. So you need a very good training program, you need to work hard on that, you need to have a good trainer who is patient, who is able to explain the topics to you. Yep. Opportunities are definitely there. So all of us who work in information technology, and I'm talking about it out of my experience, and not just my experience, my personal experience, I'm talking about it after training so many people, sir. After training so many of the candidates, that in IT, in information technology, one thing that we always need to do is upgrade ourselves to the latest technology. That is one thing that we have to do. In case we are not doing that, then we might not be running with the time. So that is one thing. And it's always good to get into a technology which is picking up at that point of time. So now this is the time for Hadoop. It's always, or big data rather. I mean, why are we thinking of it from the Hadoop point of view? We are getting into big data, and future is with big data. Do you think the data's volume and all these things will reduce, or the requirement for the velocity will reduce, or it will increase? It will definitely increase. So anyone who gets into this domain at this point of time will definitely have very bright future. The people who got into cloud computing initial days, they are the ones who are now at very good position, right? People who were rigid and did not want to move at that point of time, they are suffering right now, right? So that is the thing. And it's not something that I am saying, this is something which is the truth, or which is the reality, right? So we need to upgrade everywhere. So in information technology, that is the biggest need of the hour. You always need to upgrade. So why not upgrade to the technology which is doing best in the market and which has a very bright future? Alright, I think we do not have any more questions. I have not received any more questions, so I think we are good. So I guess either Ravi or Vimal, I'm not very sure who has spoken to you all, but your respective sales representatives will get in touch with you to discuss further and let you know the next steps. So I think we are pretty